million people.
Wow.
Today in America, this is America, not some small third world country. In America, one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. One family.
Wow.
Today in America, while we're seeing a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, people in my state, people in South Dakota are often working 2 or 3 jobs just to cobble together the income and the health care that they need. Today in America, you got mom out working, you got dad working, you got the kids working, and people still, families still are barely able to pay the bills. So the most important thing that we have got to do economically is not very hard, and that is to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. What does that mean? What do we do? Well, for a start, we recognize that a $7.25 an hour minimum wage is a starvation wage. You can do the arithmetic as well as I can, but you can't make it on $7.25, $8, $9 an hour. In America, if somebody works 40 hours a week, that person should not be living in poverty. And that means we've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. And when we talk about fair and equitable wages, we're also talking about ending a system in which women today are making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. And I know that every man here will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. This is America, our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our water systems, our wastewater plants, our rail system, our airports, our levees and dams should not be collapsing.
No.
You know and I know that real unemployment is a heck of a lot higher than official unemployment. Because real unemployment includes those people who have given up looking for work and those people by the millions who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. And I want you to think about an America in which we rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, and when we create 13 million decent paying jobs, making our roads and bridges stronger and better. When we talk about rebuilding the middle class of this country, we are talking about ending a disastrous trade policy that has cost our people millions of decent paying jobs. Now, I know it is not a sexy issue, and I know the media doesn't cover it, but trade policy, whether it's NAFTA or CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, are enormously important issues, because over the last 30 years, what corporations have done is say, why do I want to pay a worker in South Dakota or my state of Vermont $20, $25 an hour when I can shut down in America, go to China, go to Mexico, and pay people pennies an hour in those countries. And over the last number of decades, we have lost tens of thousands of good-paying tens of thousands of factories and millions of good-paying jobs.
Thank you.
Today, instead of being able to get a decent-paying job in a factory, people are working at McDonald's, and you can't survive on McDonald's wages. That is why this campaign is telling corporate America, and that is, if you want us to buy your products, start manufacturing those products here in America.
Yes!
This campaign is listening to young people. Young people are telling me two things. Number one, they are very fearful that for the first time in the modern history of the United States of America, their generation will have a lower standard of living than their parents. Now, my father came to this country without any money, and he never made any money. We grew up without any money. But his dream, and the dream of millions of other families, was that if the parents worked hard, and my parents did, their kids would do better than they. That's called the American dream.
Yes.
That is what makes our country so extraordinary. Together, we will not allow that beautiful American dream to die. I do not want to see our kids have a lower standard of living than their parents. And here is the second point that young people often talk to me about. They say, Bernie, how does it happen when we do what our parents said was right, what our teachers said was right, what the community said was right? We go out and we get the best education that we can. Why is it that when we get a good education, we end up being $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt? 80,000, sorry. And why 100,000 is like an auction in Vermont? Just out of curiosity, how many people here do have student debt? Well, there it is. Okay. Now, what this campaign is asking the American people is to think outside of the box. Think outside of what the media wants you to consider our options to be. If we all understand that learning is inherent in who we are as a human being, and we want to keep learning until the day we die, if we understand that we are living in a competitive global economy, and if our country is going to succeed now and in the future, clearly we need the best educated workforce. Why are we punishing people for getting an education? We should be rewarding people, not punishing people. Here is the truth. Truth is that in Vermont and South Dakota, all over this country, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, you had a high school degree. You were doing pretty good. You had a high school degree, and everything being equal, you could go out and get yourself a pretty good middle-class job. By and large, those days are gone. The economy has changed. Technology has changed. Education has changed. People today need more education.